Welcome back to For the Love of Men. We are your hosts. My name is Brianna Mosier, and I'm hosting with my good friend, Courtney Shand. And the intention of this show is to bring together men and women in harmony and help them honor each other's masculine and feminine energetic cores to create healthy, polarized relationships. We have such a fun episode for you on Valentine's Day. We want to help the men and the women too win at Valentine's Day together. But before we jump into that, Courtney, tell them your magic in the world, who you are. Tell us everything. Well, not everything, but tell us your magic.
My name is Courtney Shand, and I am a dating and relationship coach. I help women and men actually find and empower themselves to find empowered partners. So that's kind of my specialty, is creating healthy dynamics from the beginning with all the things, all the healthy communication strategies or practices, and bringing that empowered energy of your own to the dating table so that you get the best experience and have the best experience.
I love that.
Yeah. So that is me. What about you, Bri? What is your magic in the world?
My magic in the world. I work with mostly female entrepreneurs, helping them attract in healthy, empowered masculine partners and embrace their own feminine energy in their love life and in their businesses. So we do a lot of work scaling their business, embracing pleasure, orgasmic manifestation, learning polarity. So many fun, juicy things. That is what I do in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this week, Valentine's Day. How can we have successful, fulfilling, juicy, yummy, pleasurable Valentine's Days?
Such a great,
not a loaded question.
Such a good question. I don't even know where to start. So I do want to say though, that this is for the men listening. There's a lot of pressure, I think, from society and movies that Valentine's Day needs to have, rose petals sprinkling the floor and the bed and all the things to count as romantic. And what we want to do, that's amazing. I mean, do not get me wrong. That would be really an amazing Valentine's gift. And we want to share some other tips or some other thoughts so that you can maybe come at it from a different angle than you were thinking of. If you were kind of putting that in your mind of the expectation, maybe there's some other things that we can think of. So as we were thinking about this kind of from a partnership, from a polarity lens, what came to mind is starting to understand or creating intimacy around your needs and desires when it comes to how you celebrate Valentine's Day. Yeah, so we want to take the pressure off of Valentine's Day from being this huge, hyped idea of romance and really diving into the intimacy that gets to be celebrated on Valentine's Day. So one example of that in creating intimacy or creating polarity, while the rose petals on the bed is a beautiful one, or making dinner, there's lots of ways to do this, but we actually can bring in all of our senses and all of the styles of supporting our partners in a way that is a gift to them. Anything you want to share on that, Bri, before I?
Yeah. Well, I love how you started with pressure, because I think, especially for men, you're right. There's so much pressure around making sure that you check all these boxes. And sometimes I think as women, when we get into our wounded feminine, we carry expectations and we don't communicate them. And I'm not proud of this, but we do it. We do it. We do hold expectations that we don't communicate. So first and foremost, my best advice would be to have a conversation with your partner around what she wants and what you want out of the day, which may be nothing or it may be a lot, but most disagreements start from miscommunication or unmet expectations. And once we communicate what we're wanting, it doesn't take the sexiness out of it. It doesn't take the fun out of it. Because it's sexy to get your needs met. It's fun to feel safe. It's fun to feel like someone cares. It's fun to not be playing a guessing game. It's healthy. It's hot to have a healthy relationship. So have the
Mhm.
conversation. I would just bring it to her like, I'm thinking about Valentine's Day and how I can make you happy. What do you want to do? You're not
Yeah.
going to find a female that turns down that question.
No. Or if you wanted to, sometimes, well, I will say sometimes when it's what do you want to do, there's some like
Mm,
triggers for women around that. The wounded feminine
mm,
can get activated by, well, what do you want to do?
yeah.
So maybe like, is there anything that would make it really special for you?
Ooh, love
Might be a
it.
better way to phrase that. And
Brilliant.
that way it's going to open up some space for her to start creating of, I would love rose petals by the door leading all the way up to the bedroom and, in a bubble
Mm,
bath and blah, like her brain may just go crazy when you
mhm.
give her space to say, is there anything that would make it really special for you that I could
Mm,
do?
yes. You know what else would be so great? Taking a page from Allison Armstrong's recommendation and saying, if you could have it all your way,
Mhm.
how would we do Valentine's Day
Oh,
together?
what a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then she
I,
has no like, I'm needy, I need too much, or so much
mhm.
pressure. Because as Allison articulates, right, when you say, if I could have it all my way, everyone inherently knows they don't get to have it all their way.
Yeah.
You're saying, not in a perfect world, because it's not a perfect world. So
Mhm.
if you could have it all your way, what would it be? Which doesn't mean you don't have to, it doesn't mean that you have to act on all those things that she says, but it does
Right.
give you a playing field for here are the ways to win points with her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And perfect example. My boyfriend was like, hey, there's this thing going on in town and it looks like it could be really fun. Check it out and let me know if you want to do that.
Mm,
And as I was looking at it, I was like, this sounds really great, but it wasn't lighting me up. And so I had to
mm,
say, like, ooh, there's lots of other things that same day that are happening in town. It'd be so fun to just walk around and check out like 5 different things instead of going to this one place for dinner. And
mm,
as it started to unfold, it was more of a co-creative, collaborative thing where I
mm.
was actually getting excited about it. And that makes him more excited because it's no one wants to plan a whole thing and it be, a total flop. So to
Yeah.
have the courage to say, like, actually, this would make it so much more fun for me. Would that be fun for you? Let's do it,
Mm,
to kind of have some freedom around that.
I think you are so brilliant at clarifying things without creating a feeling of rejection. What you just said was, I know it was honest and sincere, but also artfully articulated. You
Wow.
didn't say, no, I don't want to do that. You said, that looks really great. You know what would be really fun? If we just walked around and tried out all these different places. What do you think? Like, you weren't slamming down his idea or putting him down. You're just saying, can we pivot a little bit in better words? So perfect. I love it.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. And as the conversation was unfolding, it really became more fun because it was meeting
Mm,
more of our needs, more of
mm,
both of our needs instead of, and I think, I don't know, because obviously I'm more in the receiving end of Valentine's Day celebrations a lot of times, but I perceive that a lot of men feel perplexed as to what to do. And so they
mm,
just schedule the reservation at a nice restaurant and hope that that is what she's wanting. And there's
mm,
so much clarification and so much intimacy in the questions leading up to that, that's
mm,
going to get her mind going in that direction and dreaming. If you were
mm,
to say, hey, if you had it all your way, like, what would we do? What would make this the most special for you? What can I do to make this special for you? It's
mm,
really opening up the space for her to dream. And it's sort of like you talk about, like the mental kind of desire foreplay of
mm,
dreaming. That's
mhm.
the fun part for women. I don't think men understand that. Like the nice dinner is amazing to receive. And I'm
Mm,
definitely not saying don't do that. But
mm,
she might be someone that's like, I really envisioned us staying home and having a bubble bath and you watching the kids. And then maybe we can snuggle up and watch a movie.
mhm,
And yeah, without having asked that, it's going to be
mhm,
kind of a mismatch of goals or desires in a
mm.
lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah, such a good point. I think two things are coming up. I might forget the second one, but sometimes women, we can get this idea that we expect you to magically know what we want. which I kind of touched on earlier, but I'm picturing that scenario of like the bubble bath. And I can imagine a woman when she's in a little bit of disempowered being like, how could he possibly think to take me to dinner? I'm exhausted. I need to take a bubble bath. Why didn't he think about this? And like this man is over here thinking he just won buku bucks and hit
Yeah.
the jackpot by taking her to dinner. And she didn't even want to put on heels, you know? So as women, it's important. This is why it's sexy to have these conversations, because otherwise you end up in a quarrel over unmet expectations, you know? And I think over time, your partner gets to know what makes you excited and what makes you happy on Valentine's Day. But in the beginning, when you're just learning each other, you don't know.
Right, exactly. And I'm so glad you said that example, because that's so common where women are like on the go all day. They've got kids pulling on them. They've got lots of things tugging on their energy. And then you surprise her with a really amazing idea and it's
Yeah.
not registering, and you're confused as to why this isn't lighting her up and making her super happy when she was like, I'm worn out. I want to take a nap. I want to take a bath. I want to get ready. So thinking about that too, ways that can create the quality of the experience, not just the experience itself. So all the things leading up to that experience of giving her, maybe that means planning time to leave her alone for the afternoon, to have a bubble bath, take the kids out of the house and give her space to have a bubble bath. Or maybe, like you set that up for her so that it is an act of service that she can show up, like we always talk about, as the most feminine version of herself.
Yeah, we do talk about that. I love that that's been a theme in all our podcasts.
I know,
It's
but
like,
it's so true.
It's so true. We're just creating space for the partner to be the most in their masculine or feminine core, the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
I can also see some women getting tripped up on the fact that they're having to ask for what they want and starting to believe that that puts them in their masculine. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I've had women say, well, I don't want to make the plan because that makes me feel like I don't want to tell him what I want because that makes me feel like I'm in my masculine. So, Courtney, what do you think about that? She's got a Callie interruption.
Yeah, pets,
Pets. We get pets here.
Well, I love that question because it's kind of what we were talking about earlier of, if you were to say, what would you like to do for Valentine's Day? I can immediately see that triggering me.
Yes,
of
me
like,
too.
well, what do you want me to plan the whole thing? That's my wounded feminine that's going to come out and I'm going to have to take care of her. But I can see that being a common thing. And I do want to just dispel that kind of like we always talk about with setting men up to win. The more clarity that we can give them about how to make you happy, the more likely it is that you're going to be made happy in the specific way that works for you, but also in a and it's so nuanced because we do have to set the boundary. We do have to speak up in order to increase the likelihood of us getting what we need. So if you are afraid that you're going to be too masculine by saying, hey, I would love to go to dinner on Valentine's Day. That would feel so fun to just get out on the town. What do you think? What I think is the distinction there is that you're creating a little bit of space. You're releasing the pressure for him to have a voice. And in my experience, that always goes over better than what would be masculine of, hey, I would love to go out to dinner. And just
I'll make the plan.
Yeah. Like, it's almost like this energetic brick wall coming at him. Yeah. There's no like release of pressure. And they have to do this for us too. Like they can ask us something or set the tone, and then there has to be a release of pressure so that we can breathe and come up with an honest answer. So I don't know. Does that clarify what you were saying?
Yeah, I love the way that you explained that. It's so true, to release the pressure on the end of it.
Yeah.
I think what I would also remind women is that desire is the feminine. Like, you speaking your desires is not putting you in the masculine. That is you being your creative desire, open energy. That is the feminine. What's so fun about being around empowered masculine men, and I've had this experience quite a bit actually with my dad, one of my favorite EMs on the planet.
Oh my gosh, Todd.
Yeah, he's the greatest. If I start speaking about things that I want in front of him, he writes notes. And this is why my expectations are unreasonable. No, this is a good thing, but he will sometimes take notes about like I walk around and say, oh, I really need paper towels, he'll be like, I ordered them on Amazon 5 minutes later. It's done. You want that? Great. Oh, I got a new house and they don't have a Roku here. I have a Roku. You want me to mail it to you? I'll give it to you. It's just like, and his love language is gifts. For context, that's more of what he does.
Yeah.
But so it's more via gifts. But the point is, like, when you speak your desires unattached, not expecting it, just like, it would feel really fun to go to dinner. It would feel really fun to get massages together. It would feel really fun to stay in. You put these ideas out there to somebody that's an empowered masculine. When they are in a feeling of giving, they know how to win. Which I know is a more broad answer. And here you get to be more specific about what you want for Valentine's Day. But all of that to say, it doesn't put you in the masculine to say what you want. You only go into the wounded masculine from that place if you become attached to getting it met in your way, on your timing, and what works best for you, and demanding it. Stay in the loose, open energy. Yeah, it's going to be clean.
Yeah. That actually is really amazing that you said that. And I kind of want to segue into understanding your partner's love language.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we are feeling really generous. Generosity, in my experience, begets generosity. We have to have a certain amount of our needs met before we're able to give out of overflow. And when we give out of overflow, we meet other people's needs and it comes back, is how I understand it. But also getting clear on what yours are, so that you can have this mutual good time. If it feels really good to you to give gifts, and your partner is someone that doesn't really receive gifts well, or is really turned on by, an outpouring of verbal affection, that's going to be really different experientially for you than it will be for them.
Yeah, 100%. And that's me. I'd like a verbal outpouring of affection, please. That's how I receive love the most. Yeah, you don't miss each other. So if you aren't familiar with love languages, I'll just give you a brief overview of what that looks like. Usually we have one or two that speak to us the most. And by the way, you can give and receive love in different love languages. You can receive it in one and give it in another. But usually they're in sync. You give and receive the same way. So the first is, like Courtney said, words of affirmation. This is hearing from somebody, you're so beautiful. I value this so much about you. I love the way that you laugh. I appreciate how generous you are, whatever. It's verbal, letting somebody know that you love them. Another one would be physical touch, which isn't all sex. It can be touches on the arm, the knee, as you brush by somebody, hugs, physical touch. Gifts is people giving you things, but it's not about the amount. It's about the thoughtfulness. So if I know that my partner loves Airheads and I grab them for $2 at the store because his love language is gifts, it's the thoughtfulness. He's like, oh, she gets me. Great. Or if I know we need something, that if he needs something, I might get it. Acts of service is doing things for other people, changing their oil, cleaning the house, cleaning up after dinner, making them dinner. It's acts of service. And the last would be quality time, which is focused time together, where you're focused on each other, no phones, no distraction. It's one-on-one time, or doing an activity together where you're present. So that's all 5, and you probably can resonate with them just hearing them. You can also go online and take a love language quiz if you'd like to. I recommend doing that and having your partner do it as well. And then you know each other's love language. So what is the magic, Courtney, when you know your love language and you know your partner's love language?
Oh, I think it just takes so much of the guesswork out of it, because and that work, I think Gary Chapman was the one that created those 5 categories. They're pretty mainstream. You can find that information anywhere, but being able to identify, sometimes I think what I run into with clients is that they can't quite put their finger on what they're needing or why it doesn't feel met. And when we get really clear, or have some, it's the same thing with personality types. When we have some parameters of like, oh, well, maybe it's this category or this category, our brain likes to categorize things. And so when we can start to get clear on what it is in the ballpark of, I love acts of service. So when people do things for me, I feel so cared for. And there are other ones where I have a harder time receiving it. Practicing being in receiving is the goal. That's, something that we're always working towards, but there are things that are naturally going to be more easily received. And so when you're deepening intimacy with your partner, what you want is to be able to understand what they actually are qualified at receiving, so that you're not having to constantly push uphill. We can spread it out across the board, and it's probably healthy to have, multiple different ways of loving people. But if there's one that's really resonating with them that's not being met, it's going to feel like a slow leak in this bucket. Instead of you pouring into them, it's going to feel like this slow drip out of this bucket. And over time, that can gradually leave them feeling underappreciated or under cared for. And we just don't stay in relationships, or they don't stay healthy. Let me say that. They don't stay healthy when we don't feel seen and cared for. Anything you want to add to that?
I thought that was beautiful. I think one of the theories is that our love languages come from either the way that we're the most comfortable and used to receiving love, or the need that we didn't have met as a child and what we wanted. So you can create physical touch as your love language because no one was affectionate towards you when you were a child. So now that's how you receive love. For me, with physical touch being one of my top two, it's because I got so much affection. Affection was not short in my house. It's just common. Everything is cuddling, touching, laughing. Yeah. Touch is so familiar. So, which is great. But it's something that I would bring up early in a dating situation. And I also think it's a very appropriate first date conversation. What are your love languages? I love this, but also I have a degree in psychology. So usually somebody else has a affinity for how the mind works too. So that's a fun question for me, but I think it's fun to bring up early in dating. Like, how do you know how you receive love and how do you like to show love? And then letting them know how you do too, so that you're not continuously pouring into buckets, as Courtney would say, and it's just dripping out the other side. If somebody tried to give me acts of service as love, I would appreciate it and love it, but it wouldn't fill my tank. I can see that my mom is acts of service. And I know that when she does those things for me, that she loves me. And I've programmed myself to know this is her showing love. She's saying that she loves me. I've converted it into words because that's my love language. So I can register that. But it's not the same as when she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. I love you so much. I'm like,
yeah,
perfect.
Yeah. And what was coming to me as you were saying that is it really does create a safety in our nervous system. Whichever route you want to think in terms of the theory of how it got started, whether it's what we're used to or what we didn't get enough of, either way, that's going to create a resonance in our nervous system. The electrical current is going to be expanded in that way. And it's going to kind of find its groove. If that gives you any more context, that this is like your whole body gets to relax when you experience this. And when we start to think about intimacy, the one of the biggest gifts we can give our partner is a sense of safety and a sense of deeper feelings of security within themselves. And that relaxation that comes with it, that peace that comes with it, is the gift that you're giving.
Yeah.
So it's important to be able to know, how can I create this feeling of safety and care for you?
Yes. And as we know, the feminine needs to feel safe, seen, and heard. Safe, seen, and heard. That's the magic key to helping the feminine open. So when you're speaking her language, you're giving her all of those things. She's like, he sees me, he's hearing me, and I'm safe with him.
Yeah. And
so we bring up, go on.
Go ahead.
Two conscientious people.
Two really conscientious people. No, you go first.
No, you go first.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that I love this idea. Alison Armstrong. We love Alison Armstrong. Her stuff is amazing. definitely check her out if you haven't. But she posed this idea that men have this as well. And we receive appreciation in return for these things. And this is kind of what I was saying earlier, is being able to understand what you need. You actually get to put a pin in or clarify if you have any expectations yourself. So if you're giving generously, and you have an expectation that something is going to happen or something is going to go a certain way as a result, that clarity can be really helpful, not only for you, but just for the situation at large. That can help you kind of recalibrate or be transparent with your partner so that you can, again, I don't think women are the only ones that have unmet expectations on Valentine's Day. And I also don't think it's unfair for men to get clear on what would make it special for them too. And I know that men are the ones that are doing a lot of the providing and, planning of this particular day. But in terms of couples, it's something that you guys are celebrating your love together.
Yeah.
So what would loving celebration or celebrating love look like for you, men? Might be something to sit with.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because you can also have expectations about this day. So it gets to be this bi-directional co-creation for the two of you. And again, I don't think that takes any of the magic out of it. And you also get to say, men and women, if you really like surprises, you get to say, I'd like you to surprise me. Here are some ways to win.
Yep.
There you go.
If you really don't like surprises, that's important to know too.
Yeah, I think that can put the mystery back in it if you don't want to tell him, like, I want rose petals on the bed and a whip and chains. Just kidding. I'm just making sure you guys are listening. You can tell him, you can tell him that you want surprises and give him a list of things, or her that you'd like a surprise and give them a list of things. And we bring up love languages to say, that conversation too. And in general, you can win every day with your partner when you know their love language and you start noticing what fills their tank. And then it's little gifts all the time of words or touch or quality time that satisfy them.
Yeah. And it builds a new, more refreshing version of the relationship. It gets to deepen and be a source of refreshment for both of you.
Yeah, totally agree. What else would you like to add about Valentine's Day, if anything?
I actually think that's a really good spot to land. I think just having the conversation, exactly what you said, it's not unsexy. So I feel pretty good about that.
Agreed. I feel great about it. Ooh, the last pro tip actually would be to look at little things that your partner appreciates and loves, but doesn't always go out of their way to do for themselves. So I think Courtney and I, we might have been texting about this, but like, I love getting my nails done, but I don't always go because I'm like, I could put money in other places. It's all the time. I don't like to sit there for 2 hours, whatever. So if I were to have a partner who would do that for me, it would feel really thoughtful because it's something that I love, but I don't always do for myself. Or a massage, right? Or maybe for men, it's I don't know, what would it be for men? Maybe it's getting takeout from a certain place or sports tickets to an event that they wouldn't normally buy for themselves. Like that level of thoughtfulness of paying attention to what your partner really loves, but feels like indulging or spoiling to them. That can be key. Ask yourself that question. What is something that Courtney loves and it feels like being indulging and spoiling she wouldn't necessarily do for herself?
Such a good question. What also came to me is, how would I spoil you if you had it all your way? Right. Yeah. Like, and that can go both ways. Like, what a fun conversation to have. What a fun conversation to have with both partners, because sometimes we're not as observant as we could be. And sometimes people don't show us the things that we don't know to look for. So having a conversation about it, like if you were going to, like, what is an indulgence that would feel like spoiling? How would I spoil you if I had the chance to?
Ooh, what a juicy question.
Thank you.
I love it. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we've given you all the tools that you need for a successful Valentine's Day.
Mhm.
So, Courtney, if people want to find more from you and work with you as their coach and mentor, where can they find you and what do you have open?
Yeah. So I have actually this would be pro tip number 2. If you want some couples coaching, I have some
Mm.
coaching space available for couples. And this is really intended to create healthy relationship dynamics together, working individually and as a couple, which is kind of fun to play in that domain with some new tools. So I have that available, as well as men and women's dating coaching. So I love helping women really feel empowered and sturdy as they're entering the dating pool. And
Mm.
there are some really specific tools and practices that help facilitate that, and things to look for in an empowered partner. Same thing for men. It's just the flip side of that. So I love communicating that information. I do a lot of that on Facebook, or again, my website is courtneyshand.com. You can just shoot me a message, and I have a message spot on my website or on Facebook. My Instagram is Courtney_Shand. And that might be a really fun opportunity to play around with some new information. If you liked this show, Bree has some really amazing relationship specific containers available too. So tell them what you have available, Bree.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm so excited because I'm actually going to host a 3-day free masterclass on attracting healthy love. So
Oh,
I'll put
fun.
the link in the show notes for you guys on that. But we are going to overview creating a healthy relationship with yourself, creating a healthy relationship with your partner, and then with the universe, so you can manifest more easily. So that will be a free 3-day masterclass. And then I will open up one of my favorite programs in late March, early April, Inside Out, which is the art and science of healthy relationships and magnetizing the divine masculine. So again, we start with you coming home to yourself and meeting your own needs, learning to open up to a partner and navigate in healthy relationships, what that looks like, how to date to find healthy relationships, red flags, green flags, communication style. And then lastly, your relationship to manifestation in the universe. So you can call in your desires through your energy. So that's really good. I'll put the link in the show notes there. I also have Instagram at Building Bree, BRI, and I have a website, buildingbree.com, that will have my offers on it as well. There's a contact button for one-to-one work, if that makes you more excited. So that's what I've got going on.
Amazing. Amazing. Anything else you want to share today?
I think we covered it.
Boom. Well, we are excited to hear about your Valentine's. We would love for you to share this information. If you loved it, share it with someone that would benefit from it. That is the greatest gift to us. We do this just for fun, and it would be a great gift to us if you shared it with someone that you love. And let us know what you're doing for Valentine's Day. I would love to hear some feedback of good Valentine's Day ideas, or how this information gave you some new co-creative ideas to work out with you and your significant other.
Yeah, we'd love to hear. All right, we will see you guys next week.